The ISOs I wanted to give you a treat to are build pictures of dilapidated buildings, buildings that have lost touch with reality, buildings that if you see them from afar, you are going to hate them, buildings that have become totally irrelevant and have become a sore to the eyes. You don't need to travel far on our streets before you see many of them. The truth of the matter is these buildings were not built that way. They were not designed that way. They became that way. And nobody sets out to do something bad. Everybody sets out to do something good, something sustainable, something functional. But over time, we see things lose value. We see people lose value. We see systems lose value. Something that was beautiful yesterday, today is no longer beautiful. Something that was functional yesterday, today is no longer functional. And the one key thing, the missing bridge that makes what was valuable yesterday no longer valuable today is a little word called maintenance. Whatever you don't maintain degrades. Whatever you don't maintain, it degrades. Building maintenance refers to the consistent activities undertaken to keep a building in its optimal state of functionality, aimed at what? Ensuring sustainability. The key word I want to draw attention to there is consistent activities. Maintenance is not a one-off, it's a consistent practice. It's not something you do once and you forget it. You know, the way we are humans, we want to do something, achieve it once, and then forget about it, let it continue on auto drive. But life is not like that. Whatever you are able to put in place, you must be able to maintain it for it to continue to be relevant. Maintenance is all about reducing waste, loss, and optimizing use and productivity. Buildings that have been dilapidated have become useless. They were not intended to end that way. What brought them to that state of disrepair is a lack of maintenance. We are going to run fast. Let's look at some insights. To maintain a system or a thing is as important as creating or inventing it. Does anybody agree with me on that? To maintain a system, let me ask us a question. If all the things that have been built, invented, or created before have all degraded and lost and been lost, where will we be today? Where will we be today? As a matter of fact, you as you are sitting here, if you are not maintaining yourself, you won't be here today. There is nothing that survives, that stands the test of time, if it's not properly maintained. And we are talking about buildings. What's the point starting what will not stand the test of time? Everything needs to be maintained, the earth. Today we are grappling with climate change because the maintenance system of the earth is being affected. How old is the earth now? How many billions of years? Or how old is the earth now? Did somebody say 100 years? I'll call police for you. Isn't it amazing? Now listen, isn't it amazing that the earth that's been around for so long is still standing? You know how that happened? Because the Creator put a maintenance system in place. Man, with our careless activities, we are beginning to erode that maintenance system. Now we are all running all over the place. Climate change, global warming and all that. What's bringing all that to play? We are abusing the maintenance system the Creator put in place for the earth. Whatever is created needs to be maintained. Your human body, if you don't eat, bros, you problem deal. You don't exercise, problem deal. You don't take a bath, problem deal. Even you as a human being, you need to constantly be maintaining yourself. Relationships need to be maintained. Our sisters in this part of the globe tell us, you never finish paying dowry. The one you paid on my wedding is just the beginning. All through marriage, you keep paying dowry. What are they saying? Keep maintaining. The relationship you don't maintain, you will lose it. Even with your Creator, even divine relation. Why do you pray? To maintain relationship. Why do you go to a place of worship? To maintain relationship with who? Divinity. Maintenance is what keeps life going in any sphere. Maintenance. After all is said and done, life is more about maintenance than inventions. Let us do a quick analysis. Let's do a comparison. What is being created and what has been created from the beginning of time? Which one is more? What has been created is more. This building you are sitting in now, we are receiving lecture. It was built, it's being maintained, that's why we are here. If it had degraded, we won't be here today. Maybe we'll do Big Five under a mango tree somewhere. All right, let's go quickly. Pictorial story. Now, these are two very interesting buildings. The first is the Gorich Castle, and it is found in Wales, in Britain. All right, it was built, please take a note of this, it was built between 1810 and 1825. That's the Gorich Castle. Now, it is a grade 1 country house in Wales, and it has received visits from Queen Victoria, Prince Edward of Wales. High-profile monarchs have lived in that building. That's the Gorich Castle. Then the second one beside it is the Buzluza. It was built from 1974 to 1981. It was the monument house of the Bulgarian Communist Party. One thing about these two buildings is they look iconic, they look beautiful, they look wonderful, but they are all degraded. They give you, how much will they pay you to go and spend 1 week inside any of these houses? I wouldn't hear the place. For nothing. Especially the boot loser. Look at that design. Awesome. Let's look at the next two. We have the Tower of Pisa and the Buckingham Palace. Now, the Tower of Pisa is a freestanding bell tower of the Pisa Cathedral in Italy. Okay, it began to lean during construction, which started in 1173. That's where the construction of this building started, 1173. By 1990, the lean was up to 5.5 degrees. Italian government said, problem, if we leave this thing will collapse one day. They now began remedial works to correct it and to stabilize it. And between 1993 and 2001, they were able to stabilize it and reduce the lean from 5.5 degrees to 3.97 degrees. So it's standing now stable. The next one there is the Buckingham Palace, built in 1703. It is a working building and the centerpiece of UK's constitutional monarchy. These two buildings, if you took a note of the date, these two buildings began much earlier than the first two buildings. But these two are still standing. Those other ones have degraded. What will make a building stand between 1173 and 2024? It's not angels, so. And it's not chance. Maintenance. If something means anything to us, we need to maintain it. Now let's do a quick maintenance redefined. In the final analysis, what is maintenance? Number one, it is a culture. A culture is a lifestyle that is enshrined in daily habits. If you are going to maintain something, you must have a culture of maintenance. It's not a one-off. It's not when you feel like, it's not when it's convenient, it's not when it's easy. It is done because it has to be done. It is a culture. Number two, it is passion. You must have passion for what you want to maintain and have passion for the maintenance procedure. If whatever you are maintaining must stand the test of time. Number three, it is machinery, because a lot goes into maintenance. There's no one-off activity that takes care of the maintenance of an entire building. Different aspects, different components, different phases, different types of maintenance must go into the maintenance of one building. So it is machinery. A lot of intellectual capacity goes into it. A lot of determination, a lot of tools and resources must go into maintenance. Number four, it is discipline. You just have to be disciplined. Many people that ended up with ulcer later in life I'm not saying all, but many that I know. They began with, I don't feel like eating. You know what I'm talking about? I don't feel like eating. My mom suffered that a great deal in her working years. She would just go with a cup of tea in the morning, Lipton, that was her favorite, and she wouldn't eat again till the close of day. Much later in life, she now developed ulcer like it was serious. And the doctors told her, how was your eating habit like when you were younger? When she explained, he told her that's the problem. Maintenance is what we do because it is the right thing to do, not what we do because we feel like it. All right. Now, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, goal number 12, it emphasizes responsible consumption and production. Responsible consumption and production. Addressing the gap in the circular economy. It encourages reducing reliance on natural resources, increasing sustainability reporting, and minimizing waste. Now, if you apply that goal to the built environment, this means viewing buildings as products to be produced and consumed responsibly. The goal promotes maintenance and repair, which are often overlooked in favor of newer developments. And that's the sad reality of our day. People want the next big thing. Once a building is existing, forget it, we finish with it. Let's look for the next one. Which are often overlooked in favor of newer development as key sustainable practices for reducing waste and fostering environmentally conscious lifestyles. Problem of lack of maintenance. The problem of lack of maintenance shows up in different levels and in different depths and affects us in different ways. We have the insignificant, quote and unquote, problem of a lack of maintenance. And what is that? Lack of aesthetics. That's the first thing that is affected. When you see molds growing on the wall, nobody's doing anything about it. You walk in there, this thing is looking unsightly. That's the smallest problem. That's the least of it. That's the most insignificant problem of a lack of maintenance. Lack of aesthetics. That's insignificant. Then significant, lack of comfort. Yes. The same mold I'm talking about, it gets to a point it begins to smell. This thing is smelling. The negative impact on the environment. Now that's a significant problem. Because as things begin to degrade, it begins to affect the environment around it. When you don't maintain a system, it begins to allow negative things to creep in. The third one is serious problem. We have here building structure damage. Then we have lack of user safety. Now that's a very serious problem. You enter a building and the pillar, you see a gap between the concrete up and the concrete down. You see iron just in between. Say problem in that house. Oh yes. Back in Abuja, there is a building, a plaza that is coming up close to where I worship. Myself and a structural engineer, a friend of mine, we went there one day, and sincerely speaking, we were afraid to even go near because of what we saw they were doing. And now they're already clad in covering it. People will go and rent the place, they don't know what is buried inside. Then we have the catastrophic problem, which is building degradation. Which brings us, this is what brings buildings to the state of the ones we saw earlier on. The building becomes totally useless, becomes unproductive, not useful, and loses value. Problems of lack of maintenance, health and safety hazards, compromise productivity and efficiency, waste and financial loss, increased carbon emissions, and then eye strain. Why? Nobody likes ugly. Everybody wants what is beautiful. What's the need for maintenance? Now we have here the building, what I call the building life cycle. It begins with construction because everything that must exist must be made. Every building was constructed. Every building was constructed. Then from construction, we move to the commission stage. Now, when you build a house, especially if it's a government building and government stuff, after the construction, they call the people with boban riga and big suit and agbada and all that and carry red and tape and scissors, bam. They call it commissioning. Everybody looks forward to commissioning because that's the buzz of a building. It's fresh out of the oven. Beautiful, the paints are pristine, the ceilings are okay, everything is nice, it's looking nice, beautiful, awesome. Everybody wants to associate with it. That's the buzz. That's the phase where everybody is excited about. So from construction, we move to commission, and that's high optimal state. From there, we now move to optimal, meaning the building is fulfilling the purpose for which it is built. The ACs are working, the light is working, the doors are working, the windows are working, the floor is okay, everything is in order. The building can be said to be in a high yield state because it is serving the purpose for which it was built. No problem anywhere. But you agree with me, as buildings get used, they now move to what we call the suboptimal state, which now generates low yield. Because after a couple of years, depending on the products you use, some doors will need to be changed. Paint will begin to peel off. Ceiling begins to sag. Light begins to go off. AC system begins to be developed fault. You've now moved from the optimal phase to the suboptimal. At that point, the building is no longer functioning the way it's supposed to function. And if you don't do anything at that time, you now move to the breakdown stage where there is no yield. And many buildings we see that are abandoned today, they move from construction stage all the way down to the breakdown stage because there was nothing being done to them when they were moving gradually from optimal to suboptimal. So from suboptimal, you don't fix it, you don't maintain it, you don't take care of it, it now moves to breakdown. But you see, that's why breakdown is in dotted line, because you don't have to stay or you don't have to get to the breakdown stage. You now move to maintenance. Maintenance now brings the cycle back either to the commission stage or to the optimal stage. If you remove maintenance from there, it ends at breakdown. We don't always need new buildings. We just need to maintain the old ones. Now, this is a report from the World Economic Forum. According to WEF, buildings account for 39% of global energy-related carbon emissions, 11% from materials and construction, and 28% from the operations. A UN report says the construction and operation of buildings constitute 36% of global energy use. Given that the life of a building can span many decades and even centuries, we must rebuild smarter. There are more buildings in existence today than there are being built. How many construction sites are currently existing in, let's say, in the entire world now? How many construction sites? Can you compare them to the existing number of buildings on the earth? So we have more buildings that need maintenance than those that need to be built. Focusing only on new buildings won't be enough to meet global greenhouse gas reduction targets. Since over 70% of today's buildings are expected to still exist in 2050, retrofitting them can reduce carbon emissions by 50 to 75% compared to constructing new buildings. This is a report by WEF. We are talking global warming. Let's start from maintaining what we have. Because if you go to build, you'll be infringing on natural resources. Oh yes. You'll be spending money. You'll be creating more carbon emissions when you go to build. But when you maintain, you spend less and you achieve more. The construction sector consumes large amounts of raw materials, energy, and generates high carbon emissions. Buildings account for over 40% of global energy use and produce 1/3 of greenhouse gas emissions. Additionally, construction and demolition generate. Now look at this. Construction and demolition. They go hand in hand. When you are constructing something new or you are demolishing what you have built, the gap is a lack of maintenance. Construction and demolition generate around 136 million tons of waste annually, emphasizing the need for more sustainable building practices. These are facts. Insights. The journey to sustainability begins with a solid and well-built structure. Let me tell you something. There is no point building what was poorly built up, no point maintaining what was poorly built. So the beginning of maintenance is well-built structure. There are some buildings that are erected, the advice will be demolish this one. Why? Because it's poorly built. It is sad that people in the construction industry today, the interest is more on how much they make than building what is sustainable. So they compromise on standards when they get to the field. We're not going to get into the details of why that happens, but that's the sad reality in the building industry. You build a house that can't last 50 years. We saw it. Look at Buckingham Palace, 1703. Who was born? You were born then. You were born. Or you were the contractor. 1703, and it is housing monarchy. They say build boys' quarters. After 2 months. If a structure is not well built, you have messed it up. Then let's not talk maintenance. Let's talk pull it down. So let's not be the problem of the construction industry. Then I said indigenous building materials. Oh yes. Now you see, it is easier to maintain what is indigenous than what is imported. Because indigenous has already adapted to where you are. So it's better. The earlier sessions, the GBCN session, are very interesting, very enlightening session. They talked about building sustainably and using indigenous materials. Because you would have less stress maintaining what is indigenous. But what is alien to you, you will need more stress to maintain it. Build to suit your geographical location. Oh yes. Build to suit. We go and copy what is adaptable to other climes and bring it here, and you're wondering why your house is so hot. It will be hot. Because what you did is copy and paste. You didn't adapt it. You didn't adapt it. That will fail me to demo on that. Develop a maintenance plan. Oh yes, from the get-go, develop a maintenance plan. And that's why many of us are missing it in the building industry. We just build and hand over and forget it. No plan for maintenance. No schedule for maintenance. Just be using the house. If you break down too, God help you. Abba. Occupy the building. The first step in maintaining a building is to occupy it. Do you know that buildings unoccupied degrade faster than buildings that are occupied? Yes. So occupy the building. Some people will go and hit one money. I'm not concerned about the source of the money, but you want to hide the money. You go and build estates that nobody can afford to live inside. You have held 200 housing units. Each one is 1.2 billion. Haba. So we see them a lot. We see estates. Nobody is living inside them. I remember much in the 90s. Somebody built, and sincerely I visited the house. It became a tourist attraction somewhere in Wuse Zone 6 in Abuja. The house, the guy adapted it to, it was like this hilly, slopey area like this. The bill forget that it was beautiful. I'm telling you, it became a tourist attraction. People will go there and marvel. The price the man put on the building, nobody could afford it. 5 years later, we went there, degrading. Sincerely speaking, they were already maintaining a house. Nobody was living inside. Use it for its intended purpose by design. Use it for what it was created for. There's what we call, later in the slide we're going to get there, there's what we call adaptive reuse. When you want to change the use of a building, there are certain retrofitting systems and certain things you must do to the building to repurpose it, so it can be efficient for the new purpose. Every building is designed to serve a purpose, true or false? Every building. You are living, you like eating pounded yam. You go and rent house and you're on the 10th floor. Haba. And it's not pounded yam, they pounded one. You like throwing party, 50 guests at a time, all of them will use pounded yam. Take care of the daily routine cleanliness and responsible use. Then enforce the maintenance plan. Composites of building maintenance. Number one, renovation or refurbishment. This involves improving or modernizing an old, damaged, or defective building to restore it to a good state of repair. We do that all the time. Renovation. Doors are bad, change it. Paint is gone, change it. All this, that's renovation. Bringing it back to its state of repair so it can function optimally. Then we have retrofitting. Retrofitting involves upgrading existing buildings with new systems, technology, and appliances to improve performance and energy efficiency. It also involves bringing in systems into the building that were not initially provided. That's retrofitting. It also involves adding additional support systems, columns, and so on to uphold the building. Retrofitting. Changing the entire HVAC systems and so on. Retrofitting. To meet it too. And then we have adaptive reuse. I've just talked about that earlier on. To change the purpose of a building, to repurpose a building so it can function, meet needs, optimal needs. Benefits of adaptive reuse. Preserving architectural and cultural heritage. Yes. Old buildings, you don't need to destroy them. You can renovate them. You can retrofit them. You can reuse them to serve other purposes. Revitalizing communities. Yeah, because communities are used to a particular building in a space. You don't need to pull it down. You can reuse it adaptively so that the community can keep enjoying that facility. Igniting social change. It can be used to create spaces of social community gatherings. All right? Helping to build stronger communities and promote social change. Then reducing waste. That's the baba of them all. Because for every building you pull down, that is money going down. That is money going down. Now, the next couple of slides are just academic. I don't want to dwell too much on that. Types of building maintenance, routine maintenance. We do that all the time, every day. As simple as cleaning, sweeping your house. That's maintenance. I hope you know that. Cutting the grasses in your space. That's maintenance. Cleaning your windows. That's maintenance. Preventive maintenance. Change things before they go bad. Don't allow things go bad before you change them or fix them. Then corrective maintenance. Once they've gone, because the truth is, no matter where you try something, will still go bad without your plan. Change them. Don't wait till one thing affects the other to affect the other. Change them as soon as necessary. Then emergency maintenance. When hurricane, what are the names of those hurricanes come and take off roof? That one emergency, you change it immediately. The key is personal responsibility and on-time intervention. Regular maintenance is required in order to avoid unnecessary repairs or replacements, which can be expensive. Then we have a building maintenance schedule. Create a building maintenance checklist. Identify key systems and components, because different components require different maintenance styles.